But before Caitlin Clark's season-ending injury, WNBA tickets were averaging $89. The moment she went down, price crashed nearly 30%, plummeting to $62 a seat. That's kind of crazy. And there's a lot of reasons for this, but obviously the biggest...
Picture this. A single player gets injured, and suddenly, within just hours, an entire professional sports league loses almost a third of its ticket value. This isn't just unusual, it's a total catastrophe. Before Caitlin Clark's injury, WNBA tickets were averaging around $89 per seat, something already considered a big success for the league. But the moment news broke that she wouldn't be returning for the rest of the season, prices plummeted to just $62. A 30% collapse in a matter of hours. And it doesn't stop there. The story becomes even more shocking once you realize this isn't just about tickets. We're talking about a domino effect that hit every corner of the WNBA: television, streams, sponsorships, public interest, social media presence. Everything tanked. Think about it. How is it possible that a single injury could trigger what looks like a full-blown financial apocalypse? What the WNBA built over years seemed solid, until the fragility of depending on one single star became painfully clear. The answer, though shocking, is simple. The league's growth was artificially inflated around Caitlin Clark, and without her, the entire illusion collapsed. But this is only the beginning of the story. The real impact only started to appear once fans and the public began to react.
WNBA and the Indiana Fever did not want people to know that Caitlin Clark was going to be out for the season. I can tell you, from the very day that they decided to let that go public, everything has dropped off a cliff. Views on this channel, the television ratings, the interest, Thanos snapped out of existence. People were trying to hang on to the possibility this whole time. Look, so many people stayed engaged with the team because they thought the cavalry...
Behind the scenes, the WNBA and the Indiana Fever did everything they could to delay the announcement that Clark wouldn't return this season. Why? Because everyone knew exactly what would happen the moment the news went public. And when it finally did, the effect was instant and brutal. Television ratings dropped, broadcasted games pulled fewer viewers than expected, and even YouTube channels dedicated to the WNBA saw their numbers crash within days. It was as if someone had snapped their fingers and drained all the energy and excitement from the league overnight. And what's even more alarming, fans who had been holding out hope that Clark might return for the playoffs suddenly checked out. Those following the league because of her lost interest, and social media commentary shifted from excitement to a widespread sense of disappointment and discouragement. This wasn't just a drop, it was a massive red flag. The collapse in ticket prices was only the first clue of a much bigger problem quietly spreading across the WNBA. The question echoing through every corner of the sport became unavoidable. How could an entire league become so dependent on just one athlete? And that's the hardest pill to swallow. Reality was beginning to set in, and no one in the league seemed ready to face what was coming next. The numbers that came out after the announcement weren't just bad, they were catastrophic. League-wide playoff tickets fell by 30% almost instantly. Some seats that used to cost over $200 could now be bought for just $25. That's not a dip, that's a collapse. And it hit hardest in Indiana. Fever road games, which had been commanding premium prices all season, cratered by an astonishing 71%, falling from $137 a seat to just $80. This isn't normal market fluctuation. It's proof of how dependent the entire WNBA economy was on one superstar. And the truth behind those numbers only gets uglier.
In July, the WNBA proudly flaunted ratings for the All-Star Game, which drew 2.2 million viewers. Of course, they conveniently failed to mention that ratings were down 36% from the record ratings that Caitlin Clark pulled the year before. Early August, ESPN pointed out that the Seattle Spankers and the Indiana Felines, without Caitlin Clark, drew 1.6 million on ABC. ESPN claimed that WNBA ratings were up 20% over last year, mostly without Caitlin Clark playing. But over the last 3 or 4 weeks, both the WNBA and the media have been strangely silent. I wonder...
Remember how the WNBA spent the last year celebrating record-breaking growth? They flaunted attendance milestones, TV ratings, and merchandise sales as if the league had finally arrived. But the harsh reality is that almost all of that momentum came from one player, Caitlin Clark. The moment she stepped off the court, everything unraveled. Sports talk shows that once flooded segments with WNBA debates have gone completely silent. ESPN, FS1, YouTube creators, all the noise vanished. The so-called WNBA breakthrough has been revealed for what it really was, a boom built on the shoulders of one rookie phenom. And even ESPN itself can't keep the illusion going. Early in the season, ESPN proudly pointed out that ratings were up 20% compared to the year before, even with Clark missing some games. But since her injury, silence. The network hasn't released updated numbers. And if you look closely, even the industry's go-to ratings trackers like Sports Media Watch haven't published WNBA ratings since August. That's not a coincidence. When numbers are good, they brag. When they're bad, they vanish. But nothing reveals the crisis more than the TV numbers themselves.
The WNBA are currently treading dangerous waters. It's sharks out there, y'all. It is sharks out there in the deep ends of that water. Reality is hitting, and the playoffs have the potential to expose even more. Ratings could potentially crash in this year's WNBA playoffs without Caitlin Clark. Networks have their eyes peeled to what is going on, and ticket prices plummeted 30% while Caitlin Clark was out with her.
Games that drew 1.8 million viewers with Clark now struggle to reach even 200,000. That's an 89% collapse. Rivalries that once lit up the internet, like Clark versus Angel Reese, are suddenly irrelevant. The networks are so embarrassed by the drop-off that some aren't even releasing viewership data for nationally televised games. Think about that. Entirely missing ratings reports, as if hiding the numbers makes the problem go away. And the collapse isn't just about eyeballs. It's about the business model itself unraveling. Clark's presence didn't just sell tickets or drive ratings. She moved merchandise at an unprecedented level. During her rookie season, WNBA merchandise sales exploded by over 500%. Without her, retailers are now staring at unsold gear piling up on shelves. Sponsors, too, are getting cold feet. Major brands that invested heavily in WNBA partnerships, Nike, Gatorade, and others, did so because Clark made the league relevant. Without her, those same companies are quietly reassessing whether the investment makes sense at all. And here's the worst part. This disaster wasn't just bad luck. It was self-inflicted.
She's only on one team, but a very big chunk of the total attendance in WNBA is from the Indiana Fever. They have the second highest home attendance, and teams are literally moving arenas. So yeah, a lot of teams, whether it be the Lynx opening the Upper Bowl, whether it be the Wings, the Dream, the Sky, all of these teams moving games. All of these teams are moving games for the Indiana Fever, regardless of who it is. They all have to sell those seats. And a lot of people don't want to go, and it's super cheap. Like, it's a lot easier to fill a 10,000 seat arena without Caitlin Clark than to fill 20,000. So you're going to have to find a way to do it anyway, which is what a lot of people are going to be doing, trying to sell tickets.
Clark didn't just randomly get hurt. Her injuries piled up over months of relentless targeting, brutal physical play, and a league that failed to protect its most valuable asset. Quad injuries, groin strains, constant hits that could have been prevented with stricter officiating and better league policies. Instead of wrapping their golden goose in ironclad protection, the WNBA stood by and let it happen. The one player responsible for their entire surge in popularity was systematically broken down. And now, the collapse of their so-called crowning achievement season is proof of everything critics had warned about for years. The numbers don't lie. Ticket prices have collapsed. Ratings have evaporated. Media coverage has cooled to near silence. The truth is unavoidable. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA has instantly reverted to its old state of near irrelevance. The entire boom wasn't about the league or women's basketball as a product. It was about one player's star power. And if she doesn't come back strong, the WNBA may never recover. The league that believed it had finally arrived has been brutally exposed. Without Clark, they're right back to the same struggles that defined the previous 28 years. Low viewership, empty arenas, minimal buzz. The lesson here is devastatingly clear. Sustainable success can't be built on a single player. But the WNBA ignored that truth, gambled everything on one star, and now they're paying the price. And until Clark returns, fans, networks, and sponsors have already moved on. For now, the WNBA is exactly what it was before she ever showed up, a niche league fighting for scraps in a crowded sports world.